Welcome to the PDX files. Each week we dive into the weird and the unexplained here in the Pacific Northwest and beyond. My name is Peej.
I'm Mac.
And Mac, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to get into a video that's kind of going to go into a little bit of history, but some creepy stories that maybe we haven't heard of before. We're going to react to that because there's lots of things that are creepy. We're used to creepy. Let's sort of determine how creepy this is.
All right.
I'm looking forward to this.
I have not seen this video, so my responses will be authentic. And here we go.
Number 5. Middle East Stone Circles.
I didn't know that.
In the 1920s, British commander Lionel Rees decided to fly over the deserts of Jordan. While doing so, he began taking aerial photos and found several large and unusual stone circles. Although many were baffled and curious by Rees's photographs, they went ignored until about 60 to 70 years later. It was only during this time when archaeologists like David Kennedy and his team started looking into the mystery of the stone circles. As the team began systematically looking for them, they flew over the Middle East area and found 12 circles in Jordan, 1 in Syria, and 2 in southeastern Turkey. Despite being located far away from each other, they have strikingly similar constructions, leading Kennedy to think they are all related. High-resolution images and close-up inspections of some of the circles showed they were built with stone walls only a few feet high. The circles originally didn't have openings, and whoever used them and for what purpose had to hop over them to get inside. Some have speculated that they may have been used for keeping livestock, but the walls were too low to keep animals inside. According to archaeologists, construction of these circles wouldn't be complicated, but it would still take several days and over 100 men or so to complete them. Some of the near-perfect ones might have required some architect to guide the workers, but other circles showed less planning and construction. Archaeologists date the structures to somewhere between 2000 and 4500 BC. There are also more recent materials found in some of them dating to the Roman period, so it's likely the Romans used them or built on top of them later on. One of the circles found near Homs, Syria, was studied by locals before it was destroyed. Its position revealed that if you stand inside of it, you get a panoramic view of a basin, which would have helped overlook crops and settlements. Whether this was its main purpose and the point of the others, we may never know. Today, aside from aerial photography, the research is being held together with satellite imagery, leading to new discoveries and more circles that may have been hiding in plain sight all along.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, there's, we'll do the thing on the Nazca lines at some point. And the ability for folks on the ground at that time to be able to make something like that is very interesting to me. And what was the use for? Like, we don't know for sure. But that, I mean, just even that image right there is really interesting. It looks like, I mean, there's definitely a purpose to it. I mean, some of them look a little bit just like natural. I'm saying, like, some of them didn't look like they were created by humans,
Right.
but maybe and maybe they were, but not really in the kind of the way like this image was. And yeah, again, if you look at the Nazca lines in South America are full on, like, creatures that you can see from the sky. Like, I don't know how they did that. It's pretty impressive, but even just that one, just like that is crazy that you can do that and have it. So if it's pretty perfect.
Yeah,
Not perfect, but you know what I mean.
I do. And for those who are listening on the podcast, definitely would encourage you to follow the link in the show notes to watch the reference video. But I would agree with you that on some of the imagery that was on the screen earlier that were not actually circles, they were a lot
Kind of
more
random. Yeah, it looked like water maybe made some of those things, or just
and that's
natural environment.
exactly, and that's kind of like where I'm going, where my head went. It's like, are these just actually natural formations that happened to end up forming into like these circular patterns.
Yep.
Especially, and then of course, the narrator was also talking about that it could have been used to corral livestock, but the walls were too low. Again, the passage of time could have shaved off more, a lot more of the height of these, if they were indeed used to corral livestock, for instance. Passage of time and wind and water and whatnot could have like shaved off kind of
Yeah.
naturally some of these, but it's also like that whatever that I always bring it up, but I keep forgetting the name of the word. Keep forgetting the word rather of like people kind of just see patterns where
Oh, yeah, yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Shoot. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, but I mean, like, just in the image that we're looking at right now, and again, for listeners on podcasts, go ahead and fast forward a bit. But there's one that does not look to me like a pattern. That is like something that's man-made or human-made. Certainly, that it makes it, And again, if you're looking at the image that we're looking at, has like kind of like a square. It looks like it's columns within, and some of the columns have a lot more rocks in them than others. So, and in some of them, the areas where there's not the columns, it looks like much more like you would have like maybe livestock in. But there's a weird circular structure at the very bottom. Again, I don't know what that would be for, but it definitely looks like it's been. This looks man-made to me. It's not a natural kind of function.
Yeah, and to your point from earlier, I mean, it's amazing how some of these look too perfect, even, and maybe you didn't say, maybe the narrator said it, but the fact that these things are being done by people who lived at a time when being able to view things from a higher elevation was not possible, right?
Yep, you couldn't do it.
So it just obviously, the people of today, the modern humans, obviously have a huge grasp of mathematics, but to expect that level of mathematics back then even is phenomenal, right?
Yep, agreed.
So all right, that's interesting. But yes, I agree with you. I think we need to look into the Nazca lines at another episode.
It's good stuff.
All right, here goes the next.
Number 4, Mr. and Mrs. Thomas B. Compson. If you look through old newspapers, you'll sometimes find crazy stories from history. And one of those came from the Bristol Daily Post and the London Times back in 1873. On December 8th of that year, married couple Mr. and Mrs. Thomas B. Compson headed to Bristol to go on a holiday. The two checked into the Victoria Hotel. It was supposed to be a pleasant vacation, but from there, it only became their worst nightmare.
Nice.
Well, inside their room one early evening, they heard unusual noises coming from inside or near their bedroom. Although they complained about it to the landlady, who also heard the noises that night, she didn't think much of it. After the noises stopped, the couple retired to bed. But by 3 a.m., the couple was awoken again by the same loud noises. Aside from those, they also felt the floor beneath them was giving away. Both shouted for help, but noticed their shouts echoed around and were repeated to them by a strange and unseen force. Mr. Compson said the floor they were on suddenly opened up and they were dragged into it. Mrs. Compson managed to pull out her husband before he was dragged into the hole, and the two of them escaped through a nearby window.
Dragged me to hell.
The two completely panicked about what had just happened to them. They thought criminals had tried to kidnap them. At some point, Mr. Compson fired his gun, and the local police arrested them for disorderly conduct.
What?
In their trial, the landlady testified about hearing the strange noises too, but didn't have any standout memory of that night. When police checked the couple's room, they found nothing unusual. Everything was in place. In the end, the court decided that what Mr. and Mrs. Compson went through was a form of a collective hallucination. The charges were later dropped by the magistrate because the couple were so believable in their story. As weird as it sounds, this isn't the first of its kind. In the 1940s, Reverend Biles from Yilton, South Devon in England, was with his wife when they suddenly found a hole in the path of their churchyard. This hole was so deep they had to throw a stone to find the bottom. Worried someone might fall into it, they decided to cover it up and hurried back in to get the planks. But by the time they returned, they realized that the hole was gone. A similar story happened to a student nurse while she was in her own room. She was having tea at 8 a.m. when out of nowhere a hole formed on her bedroom floor. It was so big that it occupied most of her room. She could not see through to the bottom, and bizarrely, she heard a voice telling her to jump in. She decided not to, and the hole vanished soon after.
Decided not to.
Mr. and Mrs. Cumpson's experience, while truly bizarre, doesn't seem to be unique. Was it a portal opening to some other dimension? Who knows? But stories about holes randomly opening up seem to span across many different cultures and are told all throughout history.
That's not real.
However, until now, no one knows what the hole is exactly and why it suddenly appears and disappears.
I mean, that's okay. At first, I was like, "This is total bullshit." Clearly, that couple had a few too many wine tastings, and were going off on one another. But the fact that they, and again, no research done on this on our end. We're just reacting to this, but that is pretty interesting. I suspect if you look into this, there's going to be some type of an urban legend or something following that. Now, I wonder how much of that is based on like a sinkhole, for instance, because those things do happen, right?
Yeah.
All the time, and they're weird, and like you don't expect them. They seem like they're paranormal almost.
Well, I would imagine sinkholes to be a possibility for the outside for sure.
Outside, but not the
in terms
inside.
of like outside of the church, but
Yeah,
the ones
that's
that
weird.
happen inside the room. The other thing to your point though, if it's a first floor room and a sinkhole does happen, I can see that. I'm sorry, ground level. If it's a ground level room or situation, yes. However, if it's I think the Mr. and Mrs. Compton one, it seemed
They
like they were
were
on the upper
upstairs.
floor.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
So that one right there is it's very very interesting. I mean, it's almost like it's like a literal hellhole, right? That's probably
Yeah. It doesn't explain the fact that the hole ends up being going back to normal either. Like I don't
yeah,
know what would cause that. Like even if there was a sinkhole in the Reverend's backyard, right? How would that suddenly like okay now it's gone, right? So
right.
a sinkhole wouldn't do that. Even
No,
if there was a lot of like you know stuff that fell back into the hole, it wouldn't just fill up and be back to normal, right?
right. I don't
That's
know.
weird.
I mean, who knows? I mean, there are also like natural phenomena that is hard to explain as well, right? But no, to the extent and the level of kind of strangeness that these instances ended up being, I don't know if it's just if it's natural to be honest. Definitely.
Yeah, it may not be. Like I said, if it's a sinkhole, it's going to stay, and there's going to be
Right.
evidence of that even today. We're going to see that. So it is either something paranormal or something that is just a story. Like maybe it didn't happen there. Like maybe it happened a few miles away, and they just sort of it attached themselves to that, or like, oh yeah, this happened to us. I mean, again, they didn't have the internet back then. They didn't have a Reddit, or any of this other, but bullshit that they have now. So maybe just something that over time became a story. I feel like that's probably more likely as
But
an explanation.
it led to a trial though. I mean, it's a
Well, that's
different,
true. Yeah,
it's a
at
different
least for
thing
the
if it
first
was
one.
just, yeah, if it was just kind of stories being passed down or passed around that ended up being, sounding more real than it probably was. But this happened in 1873, and again, it
The Age
resulted
of
in a
Enlightenment. Yeah,
trial. They
yeah.
were found to be not guilty or whatnot.
That's kind of weird. Yeah, that right there is strange. Like they're like, oh shit, that we can't explain that. And these people are totally normal. They're not like trying to scam us out of anything. Okay, they're probably telling the truth, but are they just like crazy people that think they're telling the truth? I don't know. It's an interesting one for sure.
gun toting Mr. Compton though had to shoot his pistol. So, all right, here's the next one.
True.
Number 3, UFO and Dracula's painting.
Oh,
Nice.
UFO sightings aren't anything new, but when they're seen in a 15th century wall fresco, it gives people room for pause.
Okay, I've seen this before.
More baffling is where the wall fresco was found. It was discovered inside a 700-year-old monastery in Transylvania, the hometown of Vlad the Impaler, also known as the real-life Dracula.
It doesn't look like that.
Although the nickname Vlad the Impaler wasn't added until after his death, it was attached to him after his habit of impaling his enemies and leaving them in public display as a show of power. The image showcasing the supposed UFO was first snapped by tourist Catalina Borda, then sent to a UFO research group for evaluation. The image shows a church of some sort engulfed in flames. Hovering over it is what looks to be a large disc sending a plume of smoke towards the sky. Some people suggest the painting and the monastery were built and could have been standing when Vlad the Impaler was still alive. But who did the painting exactly and when it was created still remains a mystery. According to UFO experts, the painting deserves careful examination, and that the idea it depicts what could be accounted as a modern UFO sighting is possible. This isn't the first time UFOs are mentioned or are depicted in historical artworks. There was an illustrated book called Prodigiorum Liber that recounts an ancient Roman battle. During the fight, the soldiers witnessed what looked to be a round object in the sky, and it was depicted in the same way as
Ezekiel's wheel?
Transylvania. However, there are those who argue and say the painting or other old artworks aren't depicting UFOs at all. For instance, in the 17th century, French coins showcased what looked to be UFOs, but even ufologists say that they were meant to depict military shields. Others add that the painting in Transylvania was likely created no later than 1523 because of the German Bible quotation written below it. The year 1523 was the first time the Bible was translated into German. But if the painting has a picture that clearly looks like a UFO, one has to wonder, why would it be in there? The simple answer
why would the
is
church be
the
burning?
UFO is actually witnessed and thus painted in order to showcase it to the world. Questions about this painting still remain. Did a UFO really visit Transylvania during the time Vlad the Impaler was alive? Is the painting actually depicting a UFO in the first place? Or is it an artist's rendition of something else? We may never know.
That's an interesting one because there's clearly clouds around that, right? And it's coming from the clouds, like there's some flame coming from it, and then there's definitely the church on fire, wherever that building is on fire. I don't know what that would be, other than some type of I mean, it could be like an atmospheric event. Maybe it's a meteor. But I think they would have said that, right? There would have been some sort of evidence of something like that. That's an interesting one. I've never seen this. I've seen other paintings that sort of like emulate. It looks like UFO activity, and this that goes back thousands of years, and not just the 1500s. But again, you can sort of explain some of it away. That one, I don't know how you would. I don't know. That's an interesting one.
Yeah, it looks very deliberate. So in terms of the church being on fire, I don't know if that's real. I think it's just a discoloration that happened in the painting there. However, it could be a depiction of a church being on fire. And yes, to your point, the kind of like the globular kind of shapes and paint, that depict clouds, certainly are meant to be clouds, and the what is being perceived right now as a potentially a UFO definitely looks deliberate. It's not like it's anything that was just like a discoloration that originated from the back of the painting or anything sort, right?
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. It's like you saw, and I don't know if that's even really a church. I mean, that's what they're saying. It doesn't look like a church to me, but I'm assuming that it is. They've done the research on that, not them necessarily.
Yeah, I mean,
but there's
this
probably
looks like
research online. right? You can
Yeah,
look at
this
that.
looks
But
like stained glass windows over here, where I'm
yeah.
kind of like moving.
Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah.
but
But the fact that it has the tail coming out of it, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of the um Independence Day.
yeah.
Like it's coming out through
Oh,
the clouds and has fire coming out of the back.
yeah.
Now I know Independence Day is not. We're not going to refer to that as like actual real life, but there's something to that a little bit. Like it's coming out of an atmosphere, and you are going to burn up the atmosphere a little bit. And the clouds look definitely like not like it's not like raining, right? But they look like thunderclouds a little bit.
Right,
So
right.
it's a really interesting way to sort of interpret that, I guess.
It's definitely curious, and especially for something that like this to be, first of all in Transylvania, and then second of all, something that was painted a long time ago eh, for by people who it would be very, I don't know, like it would be almost impossible for them to imagine something like this just out of thin air.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And as long as they have Insta, they can't like do a selfie with it. It's not like they have the ability to like have like a 4K photo of it. And so somebody who saw something like that, and maybe what they're seeing is a something in the air that looks like UFO and kind of coming out of the atmosphere, and then maybe it's the result of that like causing destruction on the ground. I mean, maybe he or
Ah,
she is, what I'm saying? It's like
sure, yeah.
maybe it wasn't as bad, but that's what in their mind is like, holy shit, this has just happened. And so this is what I sort of like in the moment I saw, and it kind of ties it into religious aspects like, well, this has got to be God, right? Or something that I can't explain. And so that I've never seen this before. This is a really interesting painting, and I know I'll have to do some research into that to see like how do you interpret that. I don't know how do you interpret some of these things. Like
Yeah, this was
I have weird dreams all the time on how I interpret them. I don't know. Maybe like that.
again, this was something that somebody painted in the 15th century, okay?
Yeah, I feel
And
like
even though
1523 or something like that. Yeah.
so to your point, if it was something that was just dreamed of by the painter, by the mysterious unknown painter, is this even something that would be conjured though? Like that imagery, you know what I
I don't
mean?
know how
It
you
seems like
could.
it's something that would
Yeah.
have been witnessed in some form, and then depicted in a painting. I know folks who are watching on YouTube, yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments regarding this because I
School
mean
us.
this is
Yeah,
pretty
definitely.
compelling,
Yeah,
and
agreed.
definitely very curious. All right, let's proceed here.
Number 2, Vinland Map.
Finland.
History has always taught us Christopher Columbus discovered America, and for decades it's been celebrated that way.
Sounds like
But
Greenland.
all of this was thrown into disarray when in 1957, a newly discovered map seemed to reveal Columbus wasn't the first to have found the American continent.
Oh, okay.
Known as the Vinland Map, it seems to serve as proof that the Vikings and earlier Europeans have managed to expand and explore a huge chunk of the world. This includes lands like Africa, Asia, Europe, Iceland, Greenland, and an area known as Vinland, or what we now know as North America. This unique map reveals Europeans were already aware of the New World even before Columbus had set his sails. Of course, we know Native Americans were already on the land, but there are still plenty of questions regarding this map, especially about its authenticity. It first came into existence when a Spanish-based Italian dealer named Enzo Ferrajoli tried selling
I
it.
don't trust that guy.
It was discovered along with some medieval text known as the Historia Tartorum, which has been proven to have been written in 1440.
Oh,
Hoping to figure out if the map is authentic, in-depth studies have been conducted. Several experts have pointed to inconsistencies in the map's supposed origin as well as its construction. For instance, in a 1973 analysis of the map, showed the ink used contained anitas, a kind of titanium dioxide which was said to be only available during the 1920s. Which would lead people to think that the map was a modern creation. However, there are those who question the accuracy of this test. Skeptics further point out that the Latin spelling and the depiction of Greenland as an island are also evidence of forgery. Radiocarbon dating points to this map being created between 1423 and 1445. Today, many believe the Vinland map is nothing but a clever forgery, but a small few still believe it's genuine. Despite several high-tech analysis done on it, there's still no conclusion whether it's real or not. This debate surrounding the Vinland map has allowed it to remain one of the most intriguing and valuable historic documents to date.
I don't know about that one. It feels like, I mean, there is a lot of evidence to suggest that the Vikings did come to this continent long before Columbus. Like I don't believe for a second that Columbus was the first one. To be honest with you, I think that's a bunch of bullshit. I think there was certainly other visitors to the continent. Now, could there be that level of detail on a map? Maybe some of it is real. Maybe some of it's been expounded upon to make it look like that. I don't know. I believe. I think where there's smoke, there's fire a little bit. Like I think that there was definitely other visitors before Columbus who found this continent, who found Greenland, who reached out across the seas. Definitely, I think that's much more likely that happened. Whether or not that map is real or not, I don't know. It looked like there was it made it. This is the most weak case so
Yeah.
far that we've seen because of some of the chemical analysis of it is interesting. Some of it may have been like paper and ink that might have been on there that was dated back to the 1440s, but somebody made use of it as a hoax. But I definitely think that there's some truth behind it, regardless. If that makes any sense.
I mean, the more kind of commonly known pre-Columbus explorer who, visited America first was Leif Erikson, right? That's the one.
Yeah.
And actually here in Portland, there's a Leif Erikson Drive that's in Forest Park. So
I forgot about that.
and
come and visit.
Come and visit. No. And I don't know, cartography is something that's always fascinated me because it's like, how the hell did people do that? I mean, especially with coastlines and how they're able to like depict even back then what the actual coastlines are that
It's
ended
very
up being.
painstaking, right? You have to like be there like nonstop. You imagine that guy on a ship like that, and you're
Yeah.
just that's all you're doing. That's all you're doing, and you're not getting paid, right?
Yeah.
You're getting like a little bit of mead, maybe some beer, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. You're getting burned to shit from the sun, and yet you're just sitting there like doing that. That is amazing to me.
Yeah, and I think it's the land surveyors. I think they're the ones that. I mean, obviously, I think they were the ancient land surveyors.
Oh
But
yeah,
it's just it's fascinating to me how maps were made back then. And how painstakingly detailed it was.
and accurate even, and
Yeah,
holds up. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them hold up very, very well
yeah,
even today.
exactly. But to your point though, with regard to this one right here, and here's the thing though. Yes, it was tested. The paper and the ink were tested. Yes, it would be interesting to find out if they did the tests today, if the results will be the same, or
Yeah,
if it will
yeah,
actually be proven that this was actually back during the Viking days. Because obviously the testing was done with technology that was available at that time.
yeah. No, I agree. I think that's totally correct. But it doesn't take away from me like the idea that there were people here before the Italians, the Columbus folks. I think
Right.
that definitely there were other visitors here. There are obviously other people living here anyway because of the land bridge kind of situation and the Native Americans, right?
Right.
Is Native Americans the right way to put it anymore? I keep hearing about that, but they were here before us, right? Were they mapping anything? I have no idea, but certainly it's possible that there was an attempt, and maybe somebody found something like, oh, I'm going to, what I'm saying? Like it could be a hoax, but
Yeah.
it's a good hoax and it's an old hoax as well. It wasn't like they have again, they don't have the ability to have drones go up and they go take any photos of it. They're doing the best that they could.
Hey, by the way, oh, I thought I was just Googling land surveyors real quick. I thought they made $220 to $450 per hour, but actually
Damn.
that's the service fee for land survey.
Ah, shit. But if they were, that's the job I should have been able to do, man. We'd be rich as hell.
All right, here's the last part of this video.
All right.
Number 1, Chinese alien wars.
Oh,
Oh, shit.
There's always been talk of aliens having visited Earth in the ancient past, but to have waged war against the Chinese? Pieces of old Asian scrolls and various artifacts seem to record that this actually happened. According to the scraps of text and oral history, these alien forces invaded the northern regions of China, enslaved the people, and forced them to build various structures. The only reason the Chinese ever defeated the alien invaders was because they were helped by another group. Indigenous giant men, about 12 feet tall with red hair and leather suits of armor, assisted the Chinese in repelling the invaders. Where does all this information come from, I'm sure you're asking.
Yeah.
Many of these stories were passed on in scraps through oral and written history from northern China as well as the southern Siberian people. Some of the earliest records were carved in an archaic language known as Jiaguan, a precursor to the modern Chinese characters we know today.
Oh,
Aside
that's
from this, countless sculptures done on ox scapulas and tortoise plastrons also depicted parts of this history.
Whoa.
Other
Interesting.
portions were written on rice paper and silk, where few have survived. According to the pieced together record, the aliens came from another star system and arrived in northern China around 30th century BCE, 300 years prior to the invention of the modern calendar. Although there's no written records coming from that period, a recently discovered 3,000-year-old rock carving showing what looks to be an alien invader was found by a Chinese scientist in Guangdong. The carving matched the depiction of the aliens in the ancient scripts. They were described as being tall, slim, and had worn a breathing apparatus or helmet when they stepped outside of their craft for extended periods. Their helmets had 2 to 3 antenna-like protrusions described as slender bamboo shoots by the scribes who recorded them. Once the aliens arrived in the regions, the humans were forced into slave labor and tasked to build pyramids. These pyramids also had pipes designed to suck some form of energy from the earth. It's been speculated that hundreds of pyramids crisscross China, and most of them are over 10,000 years old. Although the Chinese government has kept this mum and downplayed their existence, countless people have claimed to have discovered and photographed these pyramids across various Chinese provinces. Although there were revolts during the alien invasion, they were short-lived as the aliens had technology on their side. It wasn't until an ancient race of giants who may have existed on every continent during the time helped to defeat the invaders. The giants are said to have come from the northwest and swarmed into the region to help in the war. They were described as ferocious and strong, capable of picking up the aliens and breaking their backs. When the aliens finally left,
WWE.
and over 5,000 years since the end of the war, the aliens have never returned. Many of the villagers tried to preserve their history, but as you can see, only scattered fragments have remained.
Huh. I mean, on its face, it sounds like complete bullshit. This is the one mystery that is complete bullshit that sounds like it, the way that they're describing it. But if they're able to, again, I'm assuming that this is what they're trying to say. They've translated some of it, and it does look like old Chinese, like before. It was similar to cuneiform, but like advanced cuneiform, if that makes any sense.
it does.
Some of the stuff they were talking about. And if they're able to actually translate that, and they were telling stories, I mean, it could be a creation myth or story that they've made up. But the fact that they have like even later references to it, like it's a and again, it's like Christianity or Judaism or Islam spoken, and there's some, and they're much more like recent, right? They have a lot more written stuff to sort of back that up. I mean, we're talking about, this is like a long time ago before even that was going on. It's an interesting story. The idea of a battle between giants and skyborne invaders and like enslaving and all that. It's very interesting.
It's not the first time giants have been involved in
That's
kind
true.
of,
Yep.
stories from way back when, right? I mean, and
Yep.
especially going back to the the um the thought the possibility of, oh gosh, now I'm forgetting about it. It's the
I think
alien
even
race,
the Anunnaki.
the Anunnaki, right?
Yeah,
Exactly.
they're bigger and giant like as well, in some of the, but also
Exactly.
evil, and yeah,
Yeah.
in some way, some of them.
And the story of the red, the red-haired kind of 12-foot people that actually in this whole, China scenario, we actually that's I think that was part of an earlier video of ours that we did react to. So
Mm.
this story actually sounds familiar to me, or maybe
I have
it's
to
just
link.
something that I
Yeah.
saw during a deep dive one time. But uh, I mean, anything's possible, right? Especially, when for those again who are watching this on YouTube, you saw that the depiction of what looked like a saucer, right?
Yeah,
Or
and who knows how much of that is actually real that they're just sort of, putting in there. But so far, they've done a good job with this video of like, sort of having the back of science and history, and they get like almost 1 million subscribers. So I tend to trust them, not trust, but I tend to think that they've done enough to like attract people who are like, oh yeah, actually makes a lot of sense. It can be sort of backed up. And it makes sense because there are a lot of those kind of legends and myths and the stuff that they've talked about in this video that we've heard of before, and not just through our show. Like it sounds familiar, like you were saying. It's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So a lot of oral traditions, and there's some of it's backed up by archaeology as well, and art and things that we've seen. It's a really interesting video.
I just appreciate that there, people back then decided to document, right? That so that it doesn't just become oral tradition that gets lost in time when the stories stop being told to the next generation, right? So this
Yep.
actually, it's in written form, it's carved into freaking, what is it, like some
Yeah,
bones or whatever?
stone, some bones, and like, yeah, the silk and shit like that. I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck?
So
I mean, as an HR person, I respect that kind of documentation. Let me just say that.
yeah, I think one was a third written warning, and that's grounds for dismissal after that.
There was like an improvement plan for their performance, even. Yeah, it's amazing.
But you know what? Speaking of UFOs, though,
No shit. Yeah, we are gonna get into that. This is our first trip to the McMinnville UFO Festival. I'm really looking forward to this. I've been wanting to go for a long time, just never really have the excuse, and now we got an excuse to really go down there. Not just because of the show, just because I think I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to bring. And I remember hearing about this. It's been around for like 20 years, I think. And for a
yeah,
long time, it seemed like a bunch of like a total BS, like waste of time to go down to like the Renaissance Festival, maybe. But I have a good suspicion that this is going to be very productive. Maybe make some new friends down there. It's going to be good.
yeah. So what Mac's talking about is the 26th annual US UFO Fest in McMinnville, Oregon, May 14th to the 16th. They're not sponsoring us. It's just something that
Yet,
we are interested in, and excited to go to. In fact, I think by the time this video shows, it might actually be happening already. Now that I
well,
think about it.
we are going to report back soon after that. But by the way, it's going to be great.
I know by the time this video drops, it hasn't happened yet. So if you're watching this when it shows up, if you're interested in trying to meet us, maybe during the UFO Fest in McMinnville, Oregon, May 14th to the 16th, come on down. Love
Yeah,
to say hi.
just don't shank us. Other than that, we're good to go.
Well, folks, if you enjoy this content, please give it a like and share it across your socials to help get the word out about our show. If you hadn't already done so, please subscribe. And on YouTube, hit that notification bell to make sure you don't miss out on future episodes. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.